Sometimes I get someone ask me directly, like, you have the palm. I'm like, no, I don't have the palm. No. You got the wrong guy.
A lot of people think that all Emiratis are rich. A lot of people believe that, you all go to school in a Bugatti and come back in a McLaren, for example. What was childhood like for you here?
I had to work every summer. I remember asking, I went to my father at 13. I said, can I get a motorbike? He's like, where did you hear about this? I said, my friends in school, they said, if I do well, can I get it? And he said, look, you want to get a motorbike, you get your shoes on and you come to work. And I started working every summer, at different, I remember the first day I went to work, he took me with him to this factory. And in the factory, there was, I thought I would be sitting down next to him, but I was on the floor. This guy came to me, he gave me a mop, and he says, start mopping here. And as I was mopping the floor, I remember thinking that, this can't be work. And then a couple of hours later, this guy comes to me and says, okay, you can go. And I see my dad, and my dad says to me, you want to get your motorbike, you want to be on top, you have to start at the bottom. You have to start to mop the floor. So at 13, I did that. At 14, I did a different job. At 15 and at 16, I was in Showtime. So I'd been doing...
What Showtime?
Showtime is a TV channel here. It was big at the time.
Okay.
So they needed people to do call centers. So I started in sales. I'd done odd jobs every summer. Ended up starting in sales at Showtime, doing these calls. And I remember the first time I was about 16 years old, I called one customer and I said to him, do you want to, I had a script to follow. So I said, hello, Mr. XYZ, do you want to buy Showtime? We have your number. I'm calling you. My name is Mahmoud. And he says, who the hell do you think you are to call me? I don't know you. Don't call me again. Where did you get my number from? And he hangs up the phone in my face. And I was in the office. My face turned black. I just blank. I went downstairs and I see my manager. He comes to me and he says to me, what happened? I said to him, blah, blah, blah. The customer said this to me. And he said, bro, get used to it. It's going to happen to you every day. So I said, get used to it? He said, we get rejected all the time. This is your day, whatever you're here. He's like, get used to getting rejected. So I went back upstairs and I got on the phone and I put my little thing on and I continued getting rejected. And after a while, I think the feeling of, by the time I'd finished, I wanted to get I never got the motorbike, but then I never ended up getting the motorbike. But at 17, I bought, at 18, I got my car because I could afford it with my part-time job. So I got the car and it was crazy that I had to get rejected so many times to get what I wanted. And I think that's what nobody teaches you, is that getting rejected is part of the plan. It's like if you don't get rejected, it means you're not aiming high enough. You watch all of this. Nobody talks about their losses, but the truth is there's a lot of rejections, and they came to me in so many ways. But I ended up getting that part-time job. So I think for me, my childhood was a little bit different than most Emiratis in the sense that I had to work and earn what I wanted, earn for the stuff I wanted that was out of the ordinary. So I don't know about other Emiratis. Again, every family is different. You have some families that have money and give their kids. You have some families that have money and don't give their kids. And then you have some families that don't have money and don't give their kids. So I think, it all depends again on the family, on the upbringing, what are the values they want to instill in you. So, about myself, I kind of took that work thing, with me. But it carried on part-time jobs until I got my, a full-time job. So throughout university, I was on and off, always doing different things to make money.
And you studied in the US, right?
So I did high school a year in the US, and then I did my education here in the American University of Sharjah.
Okay.
And then I did my master's also here.
And how did you find that year in the US?
It was great. I was about 14 years old. I did a year in public school there. it was I remember I went to class, and the teacher, it was the first day, so you had to put your hand up and introduce yourself. So she says, "Where are you from?" And then, the guy in front of me, and I remember waiting, because everyone, like, it was like almost like you were gonna get guillotined, and it was a countdown, and everyone in front of me kept standing up, and I was sitting there saying, what am I gonna say? So by the time it comes to me, she says, "Where are you from? What's your name?" I say, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "Dubai, United Arab Emirates." And then I hear on the side, this guy says, "Where in the US is that?" Not US, Habibi. So I make my way to the front of the class. I flip the globe. I show them on the globe. And it was, they just laughed at me. I went back to my desk and, what do you speak? And, are you in a tent? And now, 20 years later, those same people, they follow me sometimes on Facebook, and they write to me and say, "Oh, we want to come to Dubai. We heard about Dubai." So I'm so proud of my nation to build that brand and that name to show, to show the world that we also exist.
If there was a word or a phrase that described Dubai now, if you were to go to any country in the world and say, "I'm from the UAE, I'm from Dubai," what is that word or phrase that you think people, because no one now says, "Where's Dubai?" No one in the world now says, "Where's UAE?" What do you think they think of when you say where you're from?
Now? Yeah, I think some of them think when they see me that I have the Palm Jumeirah in the back of my yard, or I have an oil well in the back of my yard. Yeah. I think, people see Emirats and Emiratis especially, because sometimes I get someone ask me directly, like, "You have the palm?" I'm like, "No, I don't have the palm." No. You got the wrong guy. I live just like you. I'm a normal person, and I think for most people that's kind of a misconception. I think it's good to get to know people I would ask my value system. For me, I would always want to know if the person is, who have they met? Are they tolerant to someone who's different than them? Can they accept someone different? And I think that's based on if they've traveled, and then, maybe a follow-on question would be like, how do you actually spend your time?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people identify with things not with what they actually do. It's with this image they have that they create in their head of who they think they are. But where they really spend their time is they like to read, and they like to fantasize, and they write poems, but they don't talk about it. And I think that's, I think people ought to have a shorter way to screen someone as opposed to say, "Oh yeah, you have the palm, or you have this," and go on superficial things. And I think that's what's missing in the world today. People take everything on like surface value.
Yeah.
And they see someone and they think, "Oh, this guy must be so far away, so rich, so whatever, that I can't even go say hi."
Yeah.
And these are barriers, right? People create for themselves. And I think
true.
these are, I think I read a book. It's called The Third Door.
Okay.
Very interesting book. Long story short, the guy wins $1 million on a talk show, decides to meet the smartest people in the world and ask them, how do they make it? And what he finds out at the end of the book is he needs to jump the line and take the thing that he wanted. And he gives you so many different, Steven Spielberg gave the right cassette to the right director and said, "Please choose me." If you think about anything you did in your life, at some point you went one step. There was luck and there was everything else, but there was something you did out of the ordinary, and you said, luck, whatever you want to call it, and it came to you. And I think that final effort is the thing that is the book emphasized on. And I think that's the final thing that it needs to be you. You need to claim it. You need to earn it. It's not, it won't just come when you're sleeping in your bed dreaming about it.
It's interesting. It's one of the things I speak about a lot on this podcast and in other places, and it's the concept of agency, and you needing to have a personal responsibility for your own success, a personal responsibility for the things that are going to happen to you, and the fact that so many successful people like yourself and people I speak to, they see themselves as able to do and able to actually have an effect. Some people think, if I try this, it may or may not happen. But so many people that are successful believe that if I do this, it's going to work out. yes, there may be some failures. Yes, it may not go exactly how I want, but it's going to work out because I want it to work out. And I think that's such a big factor in achieving, because as you said, at some point you're going to need to take the tape or the project or the cassette, whatever, and give it to the director and say, you need to listen to this, you need to watch this. Yes, there are times where we all go with the flow, but there are specific points in people's lives where they did the thing and they believed it, and you just see this in the story of so many people.
If you like this clip from the Gold Standard Time podcast, please click the subscribe button and help us to grow the channel. More episodes coming soon. Thanks for watching.